Alright you guys, so for our first project, we're going to be using Crayola Model Magic. I've never used this before, but when I was at my local craft store this weekend buying some paint, I saw it on sale, buy one get one half off, and I thought it might be fun for us to try. So, FYI, it ended up being about $7 for 2 packs, but this project did not use one full pack, so depending on how it works, that's a pretty good deal.
Not bad at all.
So let's see how it turns out. Now I read that you can color it by mixing it with a water-based paint, so I'm going to try mixing it with this acrylic paint that I have and see how that turns out. I'm going to put a couple dots in the center of the paint and then I'm just going to squish it together until that paint gets all nice and combined with the clay, like that. And this is obviously a messy step in our project, so you want to make sure you keep your hands clean between colors so that your paint does not all mix together in your clay, and also keep your work surface well covered so that you don't make a mess all over your house. And you want to be careful that you don't add too much paint, because I don't know how it's going to affect the drying time, but I don't want to add so much that it does not dry and it does not stay together. So I'm being pretty careful with how much paint I'm adding. I am going to be making like a big mouth monster, I'm going to call it. So I want to use a few different colors. I want my monster to be bright and colorful. And I find with this clay, the more you play with it, the more you work it, it kind of warms up a little bit, and it's easier to handle. It's easier to mold, it's easier to shape, so that's something to keep in mind. Now my monster is going to have scales. If you want your monster to have scales, you're going to pinch off like a pea size or maybe slightly bigger circle of your clay, and you're going to kind of flatten it out and bring it to a point, and those are going to work for your scales. I'm doing quite a few scales in all the colors I made just so that I have plenty to cover my body. And for this project, you're also going to need a small, like either water balloon or other very small balloon, and the balloon is going to work as the form for the scales, the form for the body. It's also called, like, I'm going to call it an armature. And in sculpture, the armature is what holds, like, the sculpture together. So this is going to work for our armature. And now we're going to start applying our scales. We're just going to work in rows. We're going to start with one row of scales, and once that row is complete, we're going to slightly overlap that row with another row of scales, and you're going to want to slightly overlap your scales as well so that they hold together when we take the balloon out of the sculpture. You just want to finish up putting your scales on. You want to work your scales until they are about 3/4 of the way up the balloon. And then I'm going to take a piece of my pinkish reddish clay. I'm going to form like a snake or a worm shape, and that is going to be my creature's lips, my creature's mouth. And I am resting my sculpture on like a part of an egg carton that I had from our previous project, and that is kind of holding it for me. So if you have something like that, it will be helpful during this step. Now I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to start working on my creature's arms or fins, tail, and eyes and stuff. And obviously my creature is kind of taking on a fish persona with his scales and everything, so I'm going to go with it, and I'm going to make him some fins and a fish tail and some big eyes, and then we'll put all that together and we'll let him dry. Now the good thing about this clay so far that I found is that it sticks to itself really well, so that will make it a lot easier when we go to put this together. Alright you guys, so there he is, and I have to say, he looks a little bit more sad than he does a scary monster. Aww. But that's okay, he's cute. Now I'm going to let him dry overnight. We'll come back tomorrow, we'll pop that balloon, and hope that he does not collapse, that he stays together. I'm counting on you, Crayola Model Magic. Alright you guys, I will see you tomorrow. Okay, so it's been about 24 hours. He is completely dry, but the clay does dry a little bit spongy. It does not dry hard. And overnight, he did end up losing his little teeth, so we are going to have to glue those back in for him. But as you can see, it is not rigid, and there are a few little cracks in it, but overall, it dried pretty well. But now it's time for the moment of truth where we pop that balloon and see if it does retain its shape. And yay, it did. Look at that, you guys. It's squishy. You can move it, you can flex it, but it's retaining its shape. So I'm really excited about that. Now, I think he's missing something. I think he needs a tongue. What do you think? So we're going to make him a tongue out of purple. That's a little silly. But he's pretty silly, so I think it's going to work out. So we're just going to shape our tongue here. I think he's going to have a big silly tongue hanging out of his mouth. Put that little line in the tongue. I'm not sure what that's called. Do you guys know what that's called? Alright, stick it in there. Now that's going to have to dry, and I might end up having to glue that later, but for the purposes of showing him off, I think that should be fine. And then we'll glue his little teeth back in. And if you do use a hot glue gun, make sure you are careful because they can get really hot. Ask for your parents' permission and supervision. And there we go. Alright, you guys, check him out. What do you think? I think he's pretty cute and scary. Alright, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to check out our